all of a sudden you find yourself embroiled in a Twitter controversy. You like solo, like not a single other pickleball person was defending you. Just going like one versus infinity, just Andy Roddick, Nick Kyrgios, James Blake, the list goes on of people just shitting on your tweet for whatever reason, man. You really set off the tennis world.
I don't think a single pickleball player defended me. Like not even one. Like
you were
everybody
alone.
in person was like, man, that's a great tweet. I loved it. Everything like that. But online, just nobody wanted any of the fire. Ben starts mocking me. He starts mocking my like commands, and the crowd's laughing, and I'm like, okay, well now he's just publicly embarrassing me for trying. That's literally it, just publicly embarrassing me for trying, which is ironic. So we won't get into that. So then like the very next tournament, we're playing Vegas, and Riley and I play Ben and Colin. I'm like, I want to win this. And we win a very, very tight game 3, actually, like 12-10. And I'm so hyped. And I'm like, I wanted this. I needed this. And I go to shake hands, and I don't even think about saying something, but I go like, who's laughing now? Or the B word.
I remember the first time I saw you playing in Dallas. I had never heard of you, seen you before. I thought it was like the first time you ever played a pro tournament. So I text Pardo, and I was like, all right, this kid's got like long hair, sleeveless. He's tatted. He's trying to rip like trick shots. He's, fist pumping. I'm like, this is the heel for pickleball. Like so I texted Pardo. I'm like, you got to get this guy, and you got to make him play pickleball, and he needs to be the villain of pickleball. And I think for a little bit there, you kind of were leaning into that. I mean, you definitely are, trolling online. You're going at the tennis pros. But at one point, all of a sudden you come to a tournament, it's like sleeves, you got the clean haircut, you're taming the behavior a little bit. I'm like, what happened? Like, this is your golden ticket. You got to be the bad boy of pickleball.
Yeah, I mean, definitely at the start, I was going for that, like just making a name for myself. The trick shots. I did the trick shots because it's the reason I love pickleball, because it's so much fun. Like that's why we all play pickleball, because it's so much fun. That's why we all quit tennis, because tennis is less fun. Tennis is still fun, but less fun than pickleball. But I was, trying to make a name for myself. You get on center court, and like if it's your first time on center court, you're kind of like, wow, there's a crowd watching me. Like I gotta, play to the crowd a little bit. And the more tournaments I played, the more comfortable I got. The more I feel like the more that my true self started to come out. Because like at first, it's like you're the new kid in town. You're like, you act differently than when you get comfortable. And I don't really think that like the whole overly loud or sleeveless. I mean, I still like wearing sleeveless, but I kind of wanted to tame it back and just focus on winning. Because for a period, I was just focused on, people saying my name or like getting my name out there. And I mean, that's great and stuff, but I'd rather be known for winning than I'd rather be known for winning than, oh, look at this guy who's always talking shit and saying and being that guy. Like I think like that's cool, but
that's cool too.
It's a lot cooler to win. So a lot of people had conversations with me about like, taking it more serious. I was like, no, I can do both. But eventually I realized that in order to take it serious, I had to kind of cut some things off. And that's what I've been doing for the last year, is just trying to be the number one pickleball player in the world.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Let me ask you, what is more descriptive of who Christian really is? Is the guy early on, or were you putting on a little bit of a show, or is it the guy that you're on the court now, or is it somewhere in between? Like if you were just being you, like which Christian do we see?
I think that's changed a lot in the 2 years since I started playing tournament. I mean, that Dallas tournament was, I think, almost 2 years ago. And at first I may have been a little bit more of that like rowdy guy. I'm like fresh fresh out of college where, heckling's a big thing, doing whatever it takes to win. I mean, I still heckle now, like if it's needed, but like I don't really heckle too much. But if I think heckling's gonna help me win, I'll heckle someone. I don't care. I think the person I was right when I started playing pickleball was me, but then like was trying to find who I was on the court, and it's kind of changed into I'd rather be the collared wearing. I love wearing collards, collared shirts. I think that's like a clean look. I mean, Roger Federer vibe is like something I really aspire to be. But then at the same time, like Nick Kyrgios is he's like the reason I like tennis, to be honest. Nick Kyrgios, even though
Really?
I'll give him.
So
He's given me
that
some,
exchange you had was that cool,
oh, it's
or were you
completely
like, damn?
sincere. I mean, if somebody's gonna like say something to me that, like negatively or whatever, I'll defend myself. I don't care if I like. Why do you think I hit so many tweeners? Like, where did I learn that from? I was watching him hitting tweeners. I was like, this guy's awesome. This guy, like, it's a serious
Yeah.
match. He's hitting tweeners. That's so cool. So I definitely have parts of me that are like Nick, parts of me that are like Federer, and I mean, I grew up in tennis, so I had a lot of tennis people that I was like watching and kind of maybe formed who I was based off that.
Yeah. Well, Nick weirdly, I think, went through a period where highly, highly criticized, had a lot of issues in his own career, kind of took time off personally, seems to have really taken a step back, but in a weird way, because he just kept being himself. Now, if you ask somebody, the average tennis fan is going to be like, Nick Kyrgios is awesome. Except for, the older kind of legacy generation who, if you're not a gentleman out there, then you're a pariah. But most people appreciate Nick, his character, and like his authenticity. And it's come back around to where now everybody loves him, right? Now they're putting him on broadcasts and inviting him to shows and stuff like that. So I think, there's a case to be made that if you just be you out there, it ultimately works at the end of the day.
Yeah, if being you is a cool guy, that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you think has?
Do
you think anybody has like filled in your shoes as kind of the bad boy of pickleball? Because you were the bad boy of pickleball for like 6 months, maybe. Like,
I mean, if that's what you get called for, wearing a sleeveless shirt and like bringing a lot of fire to matches. Yeah,
I'm not placing any judgment on it, but like that you were, and we loved it. We were your biggest fans. We were like, yeah, we need this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the PPA was trying to build it up as that, and I like
sure.
James and I have some beef. Like I could beat him with a wooden spoon. Still believe that to this day, but I don't think the bad guy or the bad boy vibe is like, it's just, you can't really be something you're not, and you can't keep that going. So it wasn't gonna last.
But do you think that there's anybody that's sort of filled in? Like, who would you call the bad boy of pickleball at this point? Like, is it kind of back to Tyson? He's not really he's not a bad boy, right? But like, he's got the tats, he's got the mullet, he's pounding Bud Lights afterwards. Like,
I know the answer to this. It's probably Howells, Will Howells right now. Yeah, he talked more shit than like a lot of people while he's playing, or Matt Wright is still up there too. But Will is like can be very in your face and kind of like out of nowhere, like not called for. I mean, it's like I don't mind if you're in my face. It it drives me to like want to do better. But some people, if you're in their face, they like dwindle and break down. So I mean,
yeah. Willie did get a little bit of a rep for that. He's toning it down too. It seems like he still likes to get in Ben's face. He likes to start his fights with Ben and Colin, but who doesn't?
Right, one of my favorite pastimes.
All right, well, let's just talk about that. I mean, I imagine you were a massive tennis fan growing up, probably still are. You mentioned looking up to Nick Kyrgios, being a big fan of his, and then all of a sudden you find yourself embroiled in a Twitter controversy. You like solo, like not a single other pickleball person was defending you. Just going like one versus infinity, just Andy Roddick, Nick Kyrgios, James Blake, the list goes on of people just shitting on your tweet about, what was it? It was I'll read it, but it was basically like pickleball requires more skill than tennis. That's
That was the
in
ending
summary.
line. That was the ending line.
Yeah. Yeah. Pickleball has made me a much better athlete than tennis ever did. Faster reaction time and speed are needed since the ball is only coming from 10 feet away. Point for point, pickleball requires more skill than tennis, which I think is a relatively mundane tweet.
Right?
Like you can have your opinion on that, but for whatever reason, man, you really set off the tennis world.
And dude dug the trench around himself too. You were not moving from that spot.
I don't think a single pickleball player defended me. Like not even
Yeah.
one. Like
No, you were
everybody
alone.
in person was like, "Man, that's a great tweet. I loved it." Everything like that. But online, just nobody wanted any of the fire. So I wrote that tweet right before North Carolina, like, and I had a match, and I woke up and I was like, "Oh, like, I'm thinking about how I'm, the best athlete I am right now because of pickleball." I was thinking like that morning, it was like, this, like, I'm the best athlete I've ever been right now, and that's because of pickleball. And I go to write a tweet, and I usually don't think about the tweets I make too much. You make so many tweets, you can't think too much about one. And I write it, and I think I write pickleball is harder than tennis. And I look at that line, and I look at this tweet, and I'm like, where pickleball is right now, it's not harder than tennis, just because tennis is like a longer match than pickleball. You've got like a 3-hour tennis match, and you've got a 30-45 minute pickleball match, maybe an hour or so. So I was like, let me readjust the phrasing of that. And I was like, I think point for point, the skill required to play pickleball is more than tennis. Because if you have like one or two skills in tennis, you can be a really good tennis player. I mean, John Isner's got a really good serve, but if I play a baseline game against him when I'm 17, I'm gonna beat him. That's a bold statement, but I'm not kidding. Just feeding, just feeding the ball, it's gonna be close. But if you add the serve, he's gonna kill me. So, he's got one really good skill, and if you have a big serve and a big forehand, you can be a great tennis player. If you have a big serve and a big forehand in pickleball, you're not gonna be a really good pickleball player. You need a fully developed game. You need to be able to drive and drop. You can't just drive. If you just drive, you're never gonna win against great players. You can't just speed up. You have to know how to dink, and you can't just dink. You have to know how to speed up. So like the skill. Somebody even commented saying the skills of pickleball are much harder than tennis, and that's a better statement than I said. But
yeah, dude, you lost me with so I would have jumped in with you about the skill deal, but you lost me with the athleticism deal, right? Like, I don't think we can make a case. Like, yes, there's maybe a more variety of athletic abilities that you need. You need quicker reaction time. You need maybe potentially more mobility, like moving downwards to get a ball. Hand-eye coordination is probably slightly more important in pickleball than tennis, even just because it's a smaller ball and smaller target. But you lost me with the athleticism. The skill, I think winning a pickleball match is more determined by who is more skilled than winning a tennis match, right? Like you said, Isner, Query, like the guys who are serving forehands have two very good skills, but you can't, even if you are more skilled than your opponent in pickleball, if you don't out-strategize them and play smart, you're gonna lose. So like I would have been with you with skill, but you lost me with the athleticism peak. Dude, just case in point, look at fucking Alcaraz. Like,
yeah,
we're done here.
I mean, good point. I think that athleticism thing was more for me, and it was kind of it was what got me thinking about the tweet. And also, if I didn't say that, if I just said pickleball requires more skill than tennis, would Nick Kyrgios and Andy Roddick, Blake, all be like attacking me for the statement? Maybe not. So like you gotta poke a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah,
love it. I like
when you see like, oh, you get that notification and you're like, oh, like I got a response, and then you see like Nick Kyrgios. What's your knee-jerk reaction? Is it like heart drop, oh shit? Is it laughing? Is it like excited, this is awesome?
So that whole week was crazy. And like I said, I was writing the tweet in my car before I played, and I didn't look at the tweet for about 24 hours. I didn't even go back on Twitter because I
That's
just
awesome.
write the tweet and I'm done. Like whatever.
Posting notes,
and
baby.
and the reason I found out about what was happening was I went to play a match the next day, because the first day was Wednesday was warm up, and then Thursday I'm playing a match. And somebody comes up to me, he's like, "Bro, your tweet is hilarious." I'm like, "Oh, like thanks." Like one of like the 5,000, 10,000 people that see the tweet like want to say something to me. And he's like, "I can't believe like Nick said that." And then I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's got like 500,000 views right now." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll check that out." I didn't even check it out right away. I was just like, I'll check it out after my match. And I checked it out, and I'm just like, oh, there was like tons of comments, maybe like 30 likes on a $500,000 or 500,000 view tweet. There's still only like 300 likes on the tweet, and it's got like over 1.5 million views, which is absurd. That's how many people did not like the tweet. It's pinned on my Twitter. I'm probably going to keep it there for a while. And I saw like these comments from like, I think there were maybe Andy Roddick and Nick had both commented by the time I looked at it. And I was like, people do not like this comment. And I kind of like sat back and I was like, I need to apologize. Like I offended some people.
Right,
and then
right.
I was like, do you really want to do that? I was like, you set up. I was like, you don't disagree with anything in this statement. You don't really need to apologize. And I thought about that, and I was like, what I can do is I can either just dwindle away and let it go, or I can double down and just stand my ground. And like, I said something, I meant it, and stand by that. So that's what I did. People were attacking me, so I started defending myself and attacking them. I don't even think I attacked anyone. I think it just was defending pickleball as a whole, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all.
No regrets. No, as you should. Like, you said it, you mean it. Stand by it. I loved it. And I think as a result of that, we had James Blake tweeted back to you something along the lines of, "I could beat Christian in tennis with my hands." Do you remember this?
Yep.
Like catching and throwing. And so we discussed it on the podcast. There was a serious conversation about you playing James Blake, where James did not have a tennis racket. And I thought to myself, how do you envision this actually going? I was so intrigued by this match because, like, serving and returning is going to be a huge problem for him. However, once he does catch the ball, he's not going to miss, really. He's going to be able to throw it pretty well, but you're going to be able to get to it. So it's like baseline points would actually, I think, be somewhat competitive, but the reach is going to be really hard for him. So I was like actually pretty mind blown by this. I was like, I really want to see this happen. How do you envision a tennis match between you and James Blake going where he does not have a racket?
So this wasn't just talk. His people reached out to my people via email, and it became a very serious conversation. And I was offended by it. I was offended by the proposal to play a tennis match where he's only throwing and I'm using a tennis racket. I was like, that's silly. But so when we were setting it up, maybe talking, I was like, I'll do this, but the only way I do this is after I win a few games. Like after I destroy you in a few games without a racket, you pick up a racket and you play me for real, and then we'll see what happens. And there was some talk about it, but you know the way things work. I don't think it ever it never ended up happening. But hey, I'll do it. I mean, I think it's insulting to say you could throw a ball and like just the serve alone, you wouldn't be able to reach it. And if you did, you'd be way off the court. So if I serve out wide and you have to take like 3 steps off the court to catch a ball, doesn't matter where you throw it, the next ball I hit is a winner. I mean, like,
yeah, how does that work, right? Like, okay, so you serve out wide, he catches it. Does he get like a pivot? He has to probably throw it from the same spot that he caught it, right? So
I guess that's good. I mean, or he could just run up to the net and just like put it away, which
right. So yeah, he would have to have like a pivot foot from the position that he caught it in. But then from that position, like he obviously can probably hold it for as long as he wants. And like once he gets established, he could probably have a pretty good toss at it, but I don't know how he's going to hit a winner to you. I really kind of mentally game planned this. I was like, I think this is actually potentially more harder for Christian than he thinks. Your serve games, I think that he would never, like, you would ace him pretty constantly. Like, if he drops the ball, that's obviously got to be that's a winner for you. If he drops it, I would imagine. But like on his serve games and baseline rallies, like I would think it would be kind of a grind. So
I guess it would come down to like how good is his ability to throw the ball? Is he like, like an MLB pitcher type thrower, or is he just like, first time throwing a ball, underhand toss, like what is he doing? Because if he can throw it, 70 miles per hour, 50, I don't know how fast people can throw a ball, but if he can throw it pretty hard, then he would be in a good position. But I don't see him throwing it that impressively.
Yeah, I would think you would probably have more accuracy throwing than hitting a ball, but this is why I
disagree. I would disagree.
You disagree? Really?
I disagree 100%. I mean, the guy's played tennis his entire life. He probably has a ton of accuracy hitting a ball. I don't know how often he throws a ball.
I'm saying just generally, right? Like I think like an MLB pitcher is going to be more accurate throwing a ball than a elite tennis player is hitting a ball, right? Like they throw within a strike zone of this, and obviously he's a tennis player. He's not a baseball player, but theoretically you could have more accuracy throwing than hitting, I
think. James Blake made an argument in that tweet, which was like, he's like, yeah, I went to, the reason I think we were talking about baseball is he's like, oh, I went and like played with some of these baseball guys, and now I can be like, and now I'm going to go pro in baseball. He's like, this is like what you're saying. And I don't know if we have the exact tweet. And I was like,
yeah, I can read it. So it's like, that might be because you mentioned that you were a much better athlete okay. So he was replying right to what you had said. Okay. So he said, haha, that might be because you were playing a pretty low level of tennis. Roasted. Maybe if you were familiar with the athleticism it takes to excel at the sport, you would realize how ridiculous this statement is.
Yeah. I mean, so.
Oh, that's not the MLB one. And then you must have had a reply.
I had a reply, and then he replied, but I think that kind of gets the point across.
I got it. I took batting practice with an MLB team. That doesn't mean I have any clue the talent, skill, and work ethic it takes to get to that level of baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
fair tweet from him, to be quite honest. It's very different. He's going completely across discipline, like pickleball to tennis, and coming from somebody who played your tennis equivalence was probably single A, double A ball compared to Major League Baseball, right? But you're at least there, right? If we're talking about you're an elite D1 tennis player playing for Virginia, one of the best teams in the country, like, no, you're not a pro tennis player, but you understand the levels above you.
I was around pro.
Christian, do you know my issue with Zane?
Which one?
He believed in what you were saying out there, and yet he just left you to fight that battle alone while you get trashed by all. He doesn't have a thing to say until after the fact. I just want to point that out, Zane.
It's
maybe
fine.
Next time you help him out.
I told you. My problem was the athleticism. He lost me there. Skills, I was ready to be in the trenches with you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I mean, I played tennis against a lot of professional tennis players. Like I was a hitting partner for them. I've played them in sets before they would go play matches. I played a set against Francis Tiafoe during the Delray Beach 2017 or 2018. He won that tournament, and I warmed him up, and we played a practice set, and I was up 3-2. I broke him, and then he broke me back at 3-2, and it was 3-3, and we just stopped. He probably didn't want to lose to me, which is fair before starting his match. But that doesn't mean anything. It's practice. It's half a set. But like I played a full set against Donald Young in that tournament. He beat me 6-3. Like I know what it was like playing against top tennis players. I mean, and I was on the same path that a lot of pro tennis players had done when they were a kid. Like I won Eddie Herr, made it to the finals of Orange Bowl, won every super national, like won in the country for 14, 16s and 18s, top 5 D1 recruit. I understood what it was like to, to go pro in tennis and to do that, like a lot more than, they might realize. So quitting tennis and playing pickleball, that was a big deal. It wasn't like, oh, like there's no chance of me going pro in tennis. I never tried to go pro in tennis, and I started playing pickleball, and it was way more fun. And I was still in college. I was still figuring out what I wanted to do. I was trying to get internships with like investment banks, and I hated it. I hated every second of that. It drained me. I hated every second of it. I love learning. I like learning, but that just absolutely drained me. There was a point when I was about 15, 16, where I was playing some of the best tennis ever. And I kind of decided, and I thought to myself, I was like, how much do tennis players make? Like, I asked myself that, because I was getting old. I was like enjoying school, and I was like, they only make a lot of money if you're in the top 10. And I was like, now let's look at some successful businessmen or people, whatever that means, whatever that meant to me. But I was like, they make a ton of money. I was like, you can make a ton of money. Like a successful business person is going to make a lot more money than a tennis player outside the top 5 or 10. And for that, I was kind of like, okay, this might actually be the right path. A 16-year-old kid thinking about money. And there was kind of a transition where I stopped caring about going pro in tennis as much as I did, and started focusing on like academics. And I never really decided I wasn't going to go pro in tennis until that was kind of like a staple of my childhood, where I was kind of like, oh, it might not be as lucrative. Going to tennis isn't as lucrative as business. So why would I choose that over this?
Especially if you're going into banking, right? Like if
what?
you
Investment
can,
banking?
yeah, if you end up at like a bulge bracket, like it's
Yeah.
very likely you're going to make more than most pro tennis players for sure. So
Exactly. And then you can
you're on that
transfer to private equity, wealth fund management, and like really make some serious big bucks. And there's no cap to how much money you can make in the business world. There's literally no cap. Whereas tennis or any sports, like tennis specifically, there was a decent cap. I remember thinking, I was like, oh, if it was like basketball or football, or baseball, maybe I would do it, because all these people were making so much money, whereas tennis was just so much harder to make money. Yeah. So, and then I think a very pivotal moment for me not going pro in tennis occurred when I was at UVA, and I said to myself, I was like, all right, I'm going to play these 4 years. I'm going to study academics, and I'm going to see how good of a tennis player I can be coming out of college. Because I knew I wanted my degree just as an option in case I wanted to do the business route. But I still love to compete. Competing is a part of me. So I was like, we'll see how I do these 4 years, and then I'll probably go pro in tennis and see how it goes. Like that was kind of the baseline. I was a lot better at doubles than I was at singles. I was pretty good at singles, but doubles, I was like, I'd always been one of the best in doubles. So I was like, at the very least, I can go pro in doubles and see how that goes. I mean, I have a lot of buddies right now that are like top 100 in doubles that like, I'm not going to like, not that I was better than them, but like, I think I could have definitely gone pro.
Yeah. You can see what it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after my freshman year, this is no secret, I got kicked off the UVA team. And I didn't get kicked out of the school, but I got kicked off the team. And the decision was kind of made for me, because I was like one of the best D1 schools in the world for tennis. And that kind of was just taken away from me. I was like, well, that was my chance of going pro in tennis. And then I was like, once that happened, I was like, okay. I was like, they don't want me. Now let me find the best academic school I can go to kind of be like, screw you guys, I'm doing well. And I was kind of on the fence between sports and academics. So went to Chicago and kind of just started focusing on academics. And after like a year or two of just really being in the trenches of the academic world and studying, and after a couple of years of that, you realize how good you have it as an athlete and as in competing. So I started to kind of care about tennis a lot more. my junior year, which is the year our team won the NCAA title. I played one for the team. I won 18 matches in a row at position 1, just to flex a little bit. And then so we won the NCAA title, and in the postseason individual NCAA match, I lost in the quarters to somebody I played a few days ago in the team event. And Zane, you said you cried in your last NCAA D3 match. I cried in my last NCAA D3 match because I lost to somebody I'd beat a couple days ago. Crazy battle. Came back from 5-1 in the second. It's like 5-5, and then lost 7-6 or something. It was very, very emotional, and I think that was kind of the moment where I was like, this is who I am. This is like, I don't want to be like, I want to keep competing rather than academics. So
Yeah, not done to be.
And
not
now
ready to
you've
be
just
done.
traded, like, you were studying and like grinding and doing the the pursuit of, I don't know, finance track, and you basically just traded that for, now you just play pickleball and you edit videos all day. Like, it's a pretty good trade.
it's a good lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're more
All right, so
entrepreneurial. It's fun. I feel like people like you and I, and especially athletes, tennis athletes in particular, and individual sport athletes, we're used to sort of, I don't know, reaping what we sow, right? So, when you put in work for yourself as a tennis athlete, there's a result. Like, you get better, and it's for you, right? And so when I went into my real jobs, it was very tough for me to feel super motivated to put in a ton of work when the output is going to somebody else, right? And so that made me kind of a bad employee. Maybe that's why I didn't make it too long in corporate America. But now when you work for yourself the same way you did in tennis, like, it doesn't feel like work when you're putting in 12 hours of editing videos, or obviously, like, grinding on the pickleball court doesn't feel like work. But I think that's an interesting thing coming from an individual sport, is I feel like we're more set up to then go into like careers of entrepreneurship than anything else.
Agreed.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about various pickleball clubs, how they can range, and kind of the market opportunity there, which I think is quite obvious, especially to us in pickleball. So if you've ever thought about investing in pickleball facility, the Pickleball Club is looking for accredited investors. So they're developing a premier membership-based private indoor pickleball facility chain in the United States, and they opened their first one in Sarasota, Florida in May 2023, and they have 6 more in development across Florida. Florida, obviously a really hot market for pickleball, but there's an unmet demand for weatherproof indoor pickleball courts. So if they want to have many clubs nationwide and really just like ride the wave of this pickleball growth, they're doing a private offering for accredited investors. So you have to be an accredited investor. Revenue streams are memberships, lessons, events, and merchandise sales. So diversified revenue. And obviously there's high potential for return on investment. It's a replicable model. Again, they're working on having their 7th club here in Florida soon, and going nationwide. And pickleball facilities are a pretty stable business. So they offer a strong financial return potential in what I think we all agree is a booming market. So to potentially become an investor in the Pickleball Club, you can go to thepickleballclub.us/invest. That's thepickleballclub.us/invest. And, have a personal stake in the growth of pickleball. Dude, so you've been beefing with the Johns Bros. I think recently, you actually mentioned like the PPA was trying to build up your bad boy rep, and they put out an article like it's literally like Colin Johns calls out Alshon's like conduct on the court, right? Like, that's a headline. So clearly they are still trying to do that. But you had some words, I think like Colin started talking to you, and then you kind of started going back at him, and Apparently had like started the previous weekend or a couple weekends before in Vegas, right? But what happened there? What was said? And have you and Colin Johns hugged it out at this point?
So in order to figure out what happened in the last one, we got to go back a few tournaments to when I was in the finals of the Bristol PPA, and Anna Bright and I were playing Ben and Colin Johns, and we were getting destroyed, absolutely destroyed. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to give up. And like,
wait, it was you. Wait, you were playing with who?
I was playing with Anna Bright in the finals.
And
of
you were
Bristol.
playing Ben and Anna Lee?
Ben and Anna Lee.
Ben and Anna Lee.
Yeah, okay.
Not Colin Johns. Colin Johns is not relevant yet. And we're getting destroyed. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do the only thing I know in this moment, which is fight and like get some energy. Like I'd rather lose swinging than lose like, you know, curling up and just being and just lose. Like, so I start shouting and I start yelling and we're down. Like we win a point. Like if we win a point, I'm getting loud. I'm trying to hype myself and Anna Bright up. And, you know, Anna Lee and Ben are a very tough team and we still lose pretty badly. But Ben starts mocking me. He starts mocking my like commands, and the crowd's laughing. And I'm like, okay, well now he's just publicly embarrassing me for trying. That's literally it. Just publicly embarrassing me for trying, which is ironic. So we won't get into that.
Oh yeah, we will.
I think we just got into it.
So then like the very next tournament, we're playing Vegas, and Riley and I play Ben and Colin, and I'm hyped. I'm like, I want to win this. And we win a very, very tight game 2 or game 3, actually, like 12-10. And I'm so hyped. And I'm like, I wanted this. I needed this. And I go to shake hands and I don't even think about saying something, but I go like, who's laughing now, bitch? Or the B word to Ben. I said it to Ben, and there was no thought. It was not a premeditated comment at all. It wasn't like 11-10. I was like, oh, if we win, I'm going to say this. Like we won, and it was just the adrenaline. And I just was like, that's what I was thinking in my head. And I just said it out loud, which I shouldn't have. I actually felt very bad about it. And I thought later that day, I was like, I need to find Ben and I need to apologize to him. Like if I would have just said, who's laughing now, whatever, but like calling somebody a bitch, that's kind of rude. So found him the next day. I apologized. He accepted it. You know, all's well in the world. And then the next tournament, Riley and I play Ben and Colin again. And it's close. I played pretty well that match and we lose, and I was pretty upset. After the match, Colin says something to me. I have no idea what he says, but he says it as we're shaking hands. I didn't hear it. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I walk into my bench, and he's going like this to me. He's like going like this to me. And then I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, you want to start something? And I don't know, some words were said. I didn't say anything offensive there, which is good. But I think I found out later that he didn't know that I apologized to Ben. So I think he was just backing up his brother for what I did. So I don't judge him. I haven't hugged him out yet. Probably won't ever happen. But I think everything's fine now. The competition between us is breeding excellence. Competition breeds excellence. And if there wasn't Zane and I to kick Ben and Colin's ass in Austin way back when, and the other times that I've beaten them or they've lost, they would still be playing the same style of game and they wouldn't be as good as they are right now. I think that them losing is making them better. And you're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, I mean, I think kudos to you guys. I think it gets out of hand when you just get personal with people, or you bring stuff up that isn't part of the on-court deal. Yeah, we're guys out there. We're talking crap. We're all pretty heated in the moment. And I'm sure Colin probably regrets what he did saying to you. I'm sure you probably have regret for what you said to Ben. But that's just kind of that's what guys do, for better or worse, on the court. And none of you guys brought up anything off the court. And I think that's where people do take offense and take things personally. But for the on the court stuff, I think we love the rivalry there. At least I do.
It's like Ryan Sherry says, keep it above the belt.
Yeah, exactly. So
above the belt, and it's good to go. Yeah. The last tournament I just played against, what was the last tournament? We were in Vegas again, and Hayden and I played Matt Wright and Fed Staxford, and this was the day after I hit myself in the head pretty hard, and Hayden was just coming off of a flu or a cold, so he wasn't playing well, and we're playing Fed and Matt, and I'm not playing great, and Matt Wright is chirping the hell out of me, and I'm like, and nobody, like, it hasn't been a while since somebody's like directly done it to me. He's like, oh, he's like, slowest hands in the sport. He's like, that's our guy, and I'm like, usually I play well, and I wasn't playing well, so it's interesting when you're getting chirped at and when you're getting trash talk, the difference between when you're playing well and when you're not playing well. Because if I'm playing well and somebody says something to me, I'm like, who cares? Like, I'm playing well. But if you're not playing well and somebody says something, it does affect you a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm used to it. Like college sports, like I don't think I changed anything. I don't think it really affected me, despite me remembering exactly what he said. I think I only really remember it because we lost. If we would have won, whatever. But losing is what makes it stand out.
Yeah. So you smacked yourself in the head. That was brutal. Like, I'd be lying if I didn't do that in tennis. I've done it a little bit in pickle, but not the same. Do you have a bruise or anything still?
Yeah, it's subtle, but
subtle.
You can kind of see it's red right here.
So that happened in mixed doubles day, right? That was you and Etta playing against Ben and AL, right? So the conspiracy theory is did it on purpose. This is a memes of pickleball conspiracy theory. You did it on purpose to get Ben to play in bad lighting. What do you want to tell to the conspiracy theorists out there?
Well, first of all, we all have to deal with the lighting. So just having the excuse that you play worse in bad lighting is it's kind of a wimpy move.
Yeah, conditions are the same for everybody.
Right? Like, it's like, oh, like I only play well under this one exact condition. Like, get over it. Like, we all have to deal with this stuff.
If you're the favorite in any sport, it's to your advantage to have conditions be perfect, right? You're the best, and so you don't want any sort of difference there or equalizer.
Exactly. So, and as far as the comment, I mean, I was seriously worried. I had never hit myself in the head like that. And I was basically getting ready for a forehand speed up. They were speeding up. I thought it was coming to my forehand, and then it was coming to my left hip. So I went from like here this way to cover the middle, and I was late to it because Ben hit the ball super hard. So since I was going to be late, I knew I had to move extremely quick, and I moved so quick that I wasn't able to stop the pronation of my wrist. So I basically just kept going and hit myself square in the left temple. And it didn't hurt at all, but the sound it made, it sounded like hitting your paddle against concrete. It was like a pop. And I was like, I just dropped my paddle. I was like, what, like, am I okay? That was kind of my only thing. I like the pain, didn't even notice it. I was just, am I okay? And I didn't even ask for a medical timeout. The ref came up to me. He's like, it's protocol to take a timeout when this happens. Do you want one? I was like, let's do it. I did not to play at night. I don't like playing at night either.
Yeah. So did you crack your temple or the paddle? The people want to know.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple scrapes and scratches on the paddle. So I'm doing okay. There was a worry of a concussion, but or even a minor concussion. I met with my physio and my trainer, and we did some more in-depth like visual stuff and kind of going over the whole situation. And I'm okay, but I was very concerned about it, so that's why I sat out of this most recent MLP, which you feel so bad if you have to not play with your team. It was absolutely terrible watching my team play without me, because like I know they needed me for a lot of these matches, and just not being able to be there, like that kills you on the inside, even if you know you did what you had to do. And so I feel bad. I feel bad for them, but they get it. We're a team, and teams understand each other.
Plus, I feel like they were better with Scarpa anyway.
Hey man, if they want somebody who was able to sweat more than me, they got the right guy.
No, I'm just messing. But I mean, that is a question that people have, right? So you hurt yourself on Friday. You did play men's doubles on Saturday. You had your bronze medal match on Sunday, but then no MLP. Like, what's going through your head? Like, how did we come to that? How did we get to that spot?
Saturday, the initial trainer that I saw, not my trainer, but like the medic that was on stand, did some like he basically asked me if I was like, if I was seeing double or if anything was blurring, and I was like, no, I'm fine. He's like, okay, you don't have a concussion. And that was kind of the end of it. And then I talked to my people, and he's like, well, the difference between a concussion and a minor concussion, you might have a minor concussion. The difference between a concussion and minor concussion is so big, though. It's like the difference between like breaking your arm and like straining it. It's like so much, like a concussion is so much worse than a minor concussion. And they have the difference for like football players so that they can keep playing under a minor concussion. And the next day I'm like, I'm playing. I'm not one to quit. Hayden and I just don't play well the whole day, and I'm not playing well at all. We're splitting every match, barely making it to the quarters. And I feel very like slow. Like that was the main thing, is I was just feeling a little out of it. The night after the concussion, the night before men's doubles, I couldn't sleep. And it was because of my head. I must have woke up 6 times in the middle of the night and like gave myself over 9 hours to sleep. I think I slept for like 4 or 5. And then the next day I just was super slow. I was not playing well, not feeling it. And I started to get concerned for myself. And I said to myself after Saturday night that let's play Sunday. Let's see what happens. But because the difference between playing Sunday and having 1 match versus playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and having 10 matches, like it's a lot more feasible to make it through 1 more match than it is to make it through 10 matches. I mean, Etta Wright, she's an animal, and she had to pull out at the end of MLP. Heat exhaustion. I mean, the back-to-back from PPA to MLP it's kind of absurd to give us 7 days of competition in a row. That's crazy. In tennis, you have like 2 days in between each match, and here we are playing matches every single day. So I know next year this won't be the case, which is awesome. But yeah, it's a lot to ask of players.
But you guys don't have, have Miami, so you've got a little bit of time off now where you can deal with it.
Yeah.
Would you feel more or less back to normal? Like, how are you doing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, the head is fine. I was getting some headaches and migraines, and they've went down a lot, which is good. I don't think it's super serious. I think it's just blunt force trauma to the head. But like that sounds pretty bad, you know?
Not super serious, just blunt force trauma to the head.
Yeah. I feel fine with that. I've been dealing with knee injuries too these last several months that I haven't played singles since before my surgery. I played once for one or 2 matches and realized that it's a lot of work. Playing singles is a lot of physical work. A lot of athleticism required to play singles. And my knee just hasn't been better. It was a slight strain. The first tournament after my surgery was San Clemente, and I a little tweak in my knee, and it's crazy that you'd have no time to recover because every other weekend you have another tournament. So I would, after a tournament, I'd have to rest my knee for like 5 days, and then it would get better right before the next tournament, and then 3-4 days of destroying my body, and I'm back to where I was. So I have 2 weeks now, or maybe 10-11 days, and then we're getting near the end of the season. I'm hoping to come back strong in singles next year.
Yeah, this end of the season stretch is pretty brutal. And you mentioned that like having the back-to-back tournaments is like it's brutal. It really is. I think that's the first PPA into MLP this year, right?
Think so. Usually it's MLP into PPA, and there's a couple days in between.
Yeah, usually they've been kind of like one before the other, but not this time. And I think that I think Travis got on his beers with Travis thing or whatever it's called. What are the drinks with the rattlesnake? Something like that. He was like, they're trying to destroy MLP. And now I don't necessarily agree with that, but this was probably far and away the worst MLP product we've had, just in terms of like players just are completely beaten up. Like the stands had nobody there. It's a Monday and Tuesday in Vegas. And I didn't watch much of it, but people were saying the production was bad or whatever. I don't know. I don't know much about that, but I don't know. What's your take on Travis's take that we're running MLP into the ground with this?
I think it was mostly just a last minute like concoction this year, being MLP. Like we kind of set it all up last minute because of the MLP PPA merger. So I don't think that what's happening this year is the ideal makeup, and I don't think anybody thinks that. But we kind of just had to get a season up and going. I mean, I guess we put our best people on it. I wasn't working on it, so. But
Me either.
yeah, right. But I know next year we're like it's gonna be just MLP for just 4 months or so, and I think there's gonna be like 1 or 2 PPAs, which is fine. But just being able to have just MLP in like in a condensed format is so much better, because like this whole MLP season, I'm like, what is this for? Like we have like obviously we have to do well, but it's very hard to find like that tangible, data saying that this match is super important, especially when you have some teams that have played 14 matches and another team has played 6. Like you don't know how close you are to each other. So it's kind of just a cluster of, disorganization. But next year, having a condensed season should make it a lot more enjoyable for the fans and for the players. So, I mean, I think this year is going to go down as a very pivotal year for MLP, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I that was part of my point to Travis is like, yeah, look, we had to fit in a certain amount of MLP events, and when else are we going to do it? I mean, I'm already playing. We have 8 tournaments over 7 weeks at the end of this season, right? Like, when else are we going to do it? So it was like, yeah, this one sucked. Don't get me wrong, but when was it going to happen? And plus, we didn't have the first MLP event until Atlanta in May. Like, so exactly. I do think I don't necessarily agree with Travis on this one. We did text back and forth a little bit, and I would like to give the benefit of the doubt to the crew that nobody's trying to run MLP into the ground, but it is tough because this is the worst one yet. And I think it was like I didn't even make long runs in this PPA tournament, but I was fried by Tuesday. Like our last match against the Sliders, like we were all just absolutely destroyed from playing 3 weekends in a row and then 7 days in a row.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it does.
All right, we're gonna.
The Ranchers are gonna limp their way into the playoffs at least. So it's looking that way. If the Squeeze or the Drive don't absolutely crush it this upcoming weekend in Miami.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's not.
So, dude, you're pretty like deep in the content world at this point, right?
But I don't use. I have my own setup. Over the last year, I've really like learned a lot, because I mean, you make a video and then you realize what you could have done better, and you try and make it better for the next video. So like a year and a half of videos, I mean, my setup's gotten better, my tech knowledge has gotten better. Like I used to edit all my videos. I don't edit anymore.
That's
thankfully.
Crazy. That's nuts to me.
Yeah, but that's what makes you good at it, right? Yeah. Like if you're in the weeds doing the cuts, like, and then you know how to film it too.
100%.
So that goes a long way. So I feel like if you're gonna be creating content that consistently, it's sort of like a rite of passage.
Yeah,
and you can
help your editors a ton by knowing how to record and like,
right?
Because you know like what is needed, what isn't needed, and kind of intros, outros, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't help my editor.
So what's your game plan for the content? So we were in New York at what was it? VaynerMedia. We were at the headquarters interviewing Gary Vee, Ryan Harwood, And you actually came up because we were talking about the fact that actually both of you are pretty good at creating your own content. Zane, you just did your first vlog. We were saying how it would make sense for more players to move in that direction to build the personal brand. Helps with everything from sponsorships to just being able to interact with your fans more and build a personal fan base. But what's your game plan with content? How do you think about it, and what are your goals?
So I actually watched that episode of you guys with Gary Vee and Ryan Harwood. I heard Zane saying that he was chirping me at 2018 in the MLP Ranchers versus New Jersey Fives. So I thought that was funny. I have no idea what you said either. I blocked it. I block it all out.
For sure.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be great though if we could go back and listen to that? Because I wanted to know what I said. I went back and watched and you couldn't hear any of it.
All I remember is I had a chance to win it for my team and I didn't. And you were to thank for that. You must have played a couple. You played well there. I think you had me beat. Anyway, as far as content, my first ever video was a vlog. It was the first ever YouTube video I made. I had been playing pickleball for 3-4 months, not long at all, and I had somebody say that I should like create a vlog. And I was like, oh, and it got me thinking about it. Then a few days later, a good friend of mine texted me and was like you should do vlogs, a different friend. So now I had 2 people saying that I should do a vlog, and I had already been thinking about it. So got on a call with him, and he sent me just like really famous vloggers so I could watch a video. So I watched a video. I decided to vlog my next tournament, which was APP Hilton Head. And thankfully I wasn't playing mixed doubles. So I had a day in between singles and gender doubles. So Thursday I did singles, and I vlogged the entire day. I mean, I'm getting B-roll of me throwing like a beanbag into the cornhole beanbag, and I like set up a camera like under the shot so you could see the bag go in. I had another shot of me throwing it, and I was like interviewing players. I interviewed JW Johnson, which I still think is probably the greatest thing I've ever done. And what's the craziest part is Federico Staxford was holding the camera for the interview. So we just have these like top players, and I'm just out here like one of my first tournaments, and I'm just like, oh, like having a good time. And then the next day, Friday, I woke up, knew nothing about editing, absolutely nothing. I'd used iMovie maybe a couple times in my life, and I watched a 40-minute YouTube video and started editing. And my process was I would watch the first few minutes of the YouTube video, figure out how to like add clips, start editing. Then I would struggle with something and I would forget how to do it. And then I'd go back to the YouTube video and continue watching, and maybe watch another 5 minutes, figure that out, continue editing. That entire day, I did not stop editing from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. And the only thing I stopped for was eating. Three meals. I edited, I think, 10 to 12 hours that first day. Just because, like, I mean, I was used to that because I was still in school. I was used to working all day. And that was a lot more fun than, studying for 10 hours. So I was doing it, and I wasn't even stressed about doing it that long. I sent the rough draft to the person who told me I should start vlogging, and he was like, oh, is this the final result? And I was like, oh man, like after like 12 hours, my video was like 18 minutes long or something. And I showed it to another friend, and they were like, hey, you should maybe fix this up, and like kind of help me a little bit more. So I spent after the tournament. So I played Saturday, then Sunday, on the whole plane ride, and like before that, I spent maybe 6 more hours, at minimum 6 more hours editing. And that was getting the video down from 18 minutes to 12 minutes or something like that. I have such an appreciation for people who edit. I mean, and the problem with editing is it's never perfect. You can spend 100 hours and you could still do better. So the hardest thing for me was kind of accepting that you just had to stop at some point. And so I stopped, posted it, and the video got like 10,000 views, which is like right now, like I maybe average around 10,000 views. So like for my first video, that was crazy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. So I kept doing that. And then I'll quickly get into this. So I started YouTube with vlogging, and then I went into the match breakdowns analysis videos, and I was really just trying to make the most in-depth pickleball videos out there. Like there's no top pros that are breaking down matches. There's not a single top pro that I know of that's breaking down matches as in depth as I do. And I mean, the reason for that is it's taken me months of like trial and error and like figuring out how to make the best in-depth videos. At first I was just watching them and talking about them and like just posting that. And then shout out to the people who comment on my YouTubes. They were like, hey, how about you watch the match and then do it? And I started doing that. I started watching it and then talking about it. And then I started watching the video in its entirety, and then watching it a second time and taking detailed notes on the entire match, which takes me a couple hours. And then I'll pick like a select few points to really dive into. And then I can have a consistent theme, like what to do in mixed doubles, or, like pickleball's changing, how to change with it, like the different, like the way, like the different strategies that you can use, and really breaking it down. And I was posting like an hour-long video on my YouTube and 45-minute videos. And I think I posted some that Colin Johns was in, like me playing Ben and Colin. And I swear Colin has watched these videos, because he's changing exactly what I'm saying he needs to change. And it's smart for him to do that. And I know, I believe that Colin's the type of guy that like would study pickleball as much as he can to get better. So I have a feeling he's watched the videos. For that reason, I'm kind of like adjusting the videos to more of a short form on YouTube, and I'm going to do a exclusive long form content where I really get into it, because YouTube is like, not everybody wants to watch an hour-long video of me talking about pickleball. They just want the main points, and they want as much info in 5 minutes. So for the people that want more in-depth, like exclusive video, I'm launching something I call the Alshon Academy. I know it's a great name, but so I'll be having extended versions of my videos there for people who really, really want to get better and really enjoy watching the in-depth match breakdowns.
That was going to be one of my questions about the match breakdowns. Like, I saw that you had one of I beat Jack Sock, and now I'm not worried about Jack Sock watching your YouTube videos really, but somebody like Colin might. Some of your competitors might be like, oh wow, this is what he did against me. No wonder he won or whatever, and they make those adjustments. So now, what happens if you post a video to this thing and I subscribe to Alshon Academy to figure out how you beat me?
Yeah, so I mean, if the people that I'm playing want to figure out how I'm beating them, at least this way they'll have to pay to do it, and they can't get that info for free. So
yeah, do you have like information on pricing, and like, is it alshonacademy.com? Like, where do they?
Yeah, so by the time this video comes out, I should have the very first video posted yesterday or the day before. It's on, I'm uploading it on Vimeo. The link is in the bio of my latest YouTube video. I'm going to just sell a one-time video for the first one for $9.99. It's about 50 minutes of me just really breaking it down, and then we'll see how it does. And I may start a subscription method where people can pay, a certain amount to get 3 to 4 hour long, 30 to 60 minutes of an in-depth breakdown. And I mean, we're out here spending like $280 on a paddle, spending $10 on a video that's going to make you better than a paddle that's a little bit better than a different one. Like, that's the people who really care about getting better. This is super valuable. I don't think this is for everyone, but for the people that want it, I think I'm really trying to do the best I can to make a good product and not just take people's money.
Love it.
Yeah, I like it. I should probably subscribe and do that, but I'm probably just going to buy the newest and hottest paddle I can find instead.
A lot of people will, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you guys talked about the benefit of doing the vlogs and, in the car after, like, getting deep and raw with the emotions. And I think, maybe doing a vlog once a month or something could be more realistic, but every week it gets to the point where it's hurting your game more than helping your game. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to.
All right. So if you,
I've done it once. It's tough to keep up with, and I did a pretty bad job of like the day of stuff. Like it's definitely not easy. But Tommy, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if you think that much about content, I can only imagine how much you're thinking about pickleball and obsessing over that. Like,
yeah,
that was a lot.
I
Like,
ranted.
you got, no, it's all interesting though. And I imagine you have a similar obsession with pickleball. I mean, you got pretty good, pretty fast. Let's end with your take on the current state of paddles, and let's just simplify it. Do we have a powerful paddle problem right now in pickleball?
I'd say yes. I mean, just with the whole Yola Gen 3, everybody agreed. I thought it was very apparent that paddle was crazily powerful and borderline dangerous, if not dangerous. And it was just a little unfair. I mean, the defense I have for them is, we're trying to make the best legal paddle possible. Like, that's the goal. Like, right? You can't blame a company or someone for trying to push the limits. But at the same time, we need limits. So when somebody pushes those limits to the max, then we can kind of see like, oh, those limits are too high. We got to bring those down and we got to figure it out. And that's the balance between, trying to push the limits and then recreating the limits. So I think that some, like the gearbox way back when, like everybody knew that paddle was crazy, and people did something about it. It's no law. It doesn't pass tests anymore. And then with the Yola Gen 3, crazy power, it gets banned. And then there's a whole lawsuit between Yola and the paddle testers. And next thing you know, here's the Yola 2.5 coming out, which is, I don't know, basically the same paddle, but it's passing. I don't know what like went into that as far as, the lawsuit and coming to a mutual understanding of what we can and can't do. I believe that, we're going to have some more strict paddle regulations for the middle of the year next year. But for now, I think it's too fast. I mean, I'm out here with Paddle Tech trying to create the best paddle possible, and I think I have a very poppy paddle. But at the same time, like there needs to be a line. I think, passing. Yeah. I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would kind of agree with you. Like, I think we all think that paddles are too powerful at this point, but also it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
I don't blame Yola for doing what they've done, and I think it would be foolish to do that. Like they made a paddle that was legal under the regulations, but we don't agree with it. Like, so, yeah.
Cool. All right, Christian. Thanks for coming on. That's Pickleball.
Thanks, dude.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie,